Good morning, everyone. I'm Maggie Brown, and not only Nina's friend, but a friend of the church. So I'm happy to be here. Nina and I want to tell you today, well, I think you all know about the personal care ministry. It's something close to everyone's heart in the church, I think. But it's been a while since it was really discussed, so we're going to tell you as though you've not heard about it before. So I'm going to start by just catching my breath. Anyway, I'm sure that all of us in the last 24 hours have maybe taken a shower, we've washed our hair, we've done our dishes, maybe thrown a load of clothes in the washer, and taken care of our personal hygiene needs. All of this we do without a thought of where is this stuff coming from. And for some of the people in our community, it isn't that easy. They may not have the dish soap, they may not have the toilet paper, they may not have the money to buy these things. So the personal care ministry has stepped in. It's a wonderful thing. And Nina is going to tell you more about the history of it. I do want to say that Jackson County, we are blessed to have really quite a few food banks, but yet times are tough, and we keep hearing about different ones closing. But at one time there were over 20. There's still quite a few, but the requirements are very strong. You usually have to get referred. You may have to fill out an application. You may have to jump through bureaucratic hoops to get the assistance that you need. With the personal care ministry, we do require that people live in Jackson County, and that only one person in the household collects products. But other than that, there are no hoops. There's only help. Nina?
So a little bit of history. I found this out. I'd always known there was this organization called Love Inc. with a capital I-N-C, and it's love in the name of Christ. And I found out that this group now has been supported by 30 churches in the area, and that it's called a GAP ministry. And they got together with the people of Westminster Presbyterian in 2012, and they found out from Love Inc., yes, there is a lot of help, but there is this one gap for personal care and cleaning products. So bless their hearts, this group of about 5 churches, we weren't in on the initial planning, but they did a great job. Brookside United Methodist, First Baptist, First Congregational, First United Methodist, and Westminster Presbyterian. They got together and they had meetings, and it was like, where, when, why, how are we going to get this all going? And it was a lot of work setting it up. And I think they came up with a pretty good system. Some of us have said, why have it every week, have it less? But the board says, no, we have to have it every week because we never know when someone is going to come into town, show up here and need this service. So there are some holidays, like in July 4th. That would be our first Thursday. They're not going to have it, but they've done a lot of advertising to let our clients know. So one of the wonderful things about Love Inc. is we do ask our clients to show ID that they live in Jackson County. And one of the good missions of Love Inc. now is they'll help anyone get their birth certificate, even if they have to mail away to Timbuktu to get it. They'll help them get their Michigan ID or their driver's license. They'll pay for it, and they'll even pick up the person and take them to the state office if they have to. So that's a wonderful service because all of you who have helped at the personal care know there's a lot of people without any official ID. It's astounding, but they lost it, somebody stole it, they misplaced it. I learned a long time ago when I started teaching for Head Start that poverty there's so many layers of poverty, and one of them is a crisis every day. And when you're in crisis, and maybe your family and your neighbors are in crisis, a lot of stuff goes to hell every day. So I see the GAP, the Love Inc., and the personal care, we supply, but we're also kind of like a safe haven. We got to know people. It's just been really good experience. And I'm so glad we got involved. Okay, what's next? All right, Maggie.
Okay. The next thing I want to tell you is where it is, where it's located. The distributions are held at the First Baptist Church of Jackson, and it's on the corner of South Jackson Streets and Cortland in downtown Jackson. I sound like I know how to get there. I couldn't get there right now, but anyway, there's always Google. So anyway, it's in a very good location for the people in town. And so now I guess I'd like to tell you a bit about how it actually works. What happens when you're a client and you come into the church to get your... Shall we have music? Shall we have music?
We shall have music.
You do the intro for the
Okay.
music.
All right.
I got ahead of myself.
We got with Anita to play a little hymn, one you all probably know, most of you, because this has been a really cool thing at the personal care is we're at First Baptist in their social hall and there's a piano there. Well, we started to have clients come in and play the piano. And one of our most wonderful clients, Donna Brousseau, played for years. And it's so much fun to have this music in the background. And we still have other clients. This is in memory of Donna, who died a few months ago. And Alyssa and I will pass out the forms that you would get if you were a client.
Thank you. That was very moving. The lady who used to play the piano, it was like an angel. I mean, she played so well. It was beautiful. So may she rest in peace. What we want to tell you now, you have your slips, and now I'm going to explain how it works. When the clients come in, they're met at the door of the church by someone, a volunteer, a person from the church. And they're sort of just shown, that they come down the hall. And let's say at the end of the little walkway, there's one of our volunteers there handing out these slips. And then they just wait in line. We have a reception area that has usually 3 to 4 volunteers, and most often from our church, sitting there. So, the clients come up and they give you their identification and they start filling out their sheet. And this is really another part of the ministry, is because while the people are there sitting, you're chatting, and you're watching the fellowship they have among themselves, and you get as much as you give from doing this. Anyway, so they sit down at the table, they fill out the sheet, and then the person sitting there, myself, for instance, I would ask them for the sheet, may I see your license? You just want to make sure they're in Jackson County. You want to make sure the address is right, just sort of checking details. And another detail we have to sort of surreptitiously check is whether they're on our, what are we calling that list, the thin ice list or something, where they don't really have the right ID, and you can come once with nothing, but then, so we check all that, and then they move on, someone else takes another look at it, and then they go and sit down and wait for their number to be called, because the products are upstairs. And people who are unable to go upstairs, we have what we call runners, who will run up the stairs and pick the products that people need and bring it back down to them. But it's a nice time, a nice fellowship time for everyone, and the atmosphere there is always friendly and cheerful and happy, so it's good. And I think I'm done with my little how it works section. I'm turning it over to Nina.
All right. So if you flipped your slip over that we just handed you, you'll see our products. We have 15 regular products that we hand out every week. And then once a month, because we also take any gently used products. If you got some lotion and you took a few squirts out of it and you didn't like it, we'll take it. And on the third Thursday of the month, they put out a bonus table, and people can come and pick hairspray or, whatever off that table that isn't these regular products. So, and another thing we do is hotel products, the small shampoos and all that stuff. We take those, and people put them in Ziploc bags, and you can have that choice when you go through the shopping if you want to try all these little samples instead of the big thing of shampoo. We do ask people to take what they need. Take what you need this week. And but you never know. If people are taking more, hopefully they're passing it on to other people that need it. So I got this information. We've got some wonderful people at Personal Care that have worked there since the beginning, and they've worked with products in this room stuffed with products, keeping it all straight. They also go out places and pick it up in their vehicles and bring it back, and sometimes we have the clients help carry it up 2 flights of stairs, but other times these workers that I want to call out, one is Sharon Peterson's sister, Charlene McCready. She's great. She's just a real worker. Margot and John Fenstemacher, they've just stuck with this the whole time of probably the hardest part of the job. Another man, I don't know, named John Meyer. We purchase products from Dollar Tree, Menards, and Walmart. Dollar General in Vandercook Lake has a donation table out, so patrons can actually buy something to put on the donation table. I thought that was really cool. And we also get a lot of donations from St. Vincent de Paul, and so that's cool. And so any products, I have friends now that are always calling me, do you take this, do you take that? One product that we need are adult diapers. We have a lot of call for that. In fact, we have a whole nother storage room where we are able to keep those. One thing, if you're in a nursing home and someone dies or doesn't no longer need them because the package is open, the nursing home can't reuse them, so they've been giving them to us. But anyway, that's a big need that they told me. And So I guess that's about it on the products. Now, the cost of running, even with careful planning, and believe me, they've really looked at all this as to what they can get for the cheapest. It's not cheap to run the personal care ministry. And in the annual report for 2018, we served 1,041 unique households in Jackson County in that year. And the average number now has gone down since we started. It used to be over 100. Now I'd say it's mostly between 80 and 90 clients a week. So that's good. To me, that means more people are working, hopefully, and able to buy their own. The product price is approximately $1,800 per month, and that's come down too. And in 2018, we distributed totally $21,800 worth of products. So as you know, our church does this wonderful quarterly offering, and we have fundraisers, like the Finley fundraiser maybe a month ago or so, raised $280. Every bit helps. A lot of you give donations. Even if you can't go to a fundraiser, you've given me donations. And we also have people that go for grants, grant writers to different businesses and foundations. So we seem to survive financially year after year. It just seems to go along nicely. We're trying to be the choice for this thing called the Baker Tea, which they have every year at Baker College. And it's all the different nonprofits get together, and they have this tea, and they pick one place like the personal care to donate a bunch of money to. So that's what we're going to try for next year. So let's see if I got all that down. Yeah, and we also have a gospel sing, and we've had they had a fashion show, all kinds of little fundraising things going on. So Maggie, do you have any last? Oh, our basket up here is where I collect things, and it's by the desk. But anytime you want to bring anything to donate, you can even, if you're downstairs, you can put it by the back door, or you can put it in one of the window sills, and I will find it. Okay. Any last thoughts, Maggie?
I have many last thoughts. Your ideas for fundraisers are always welcome. You know, they get organized, but if you have a bright idea to raise some money for this worthy project, among worthy projects, we would appreciate it. And really, I guess what I wanted to say are kind of two things. One is the way I became involved in the personal care ministry is really sort of backward, because I volunteered there before I even knew about this church. And when I did, Nina invited me to come. So I found you by doing that, and it's really great. So the other thing I would like to do is invite you to come down. And you don't have to volunteer, but you know, usually a week or so before the volunteer date, I'll start, you know, asking if people are available. And generally, we only provide or need to provide about 6 volunteers for a night. And we usually manage that with no problem. So, well, maybe some problem, you know, depending on what people are doing. But I guess what I want to say to you personally is, if you see me coming, please don't run. I'm not going to guilt you. I'm just going to give you the opportunity to have fun with us at Personal Care Ministry. And So finally, though, I'd like to thank Nina on behalf of all of us for the wonderful work that she's done to get the process in place so that when someone like me steps in, I don't really have to think much. I just have to follow the procedures that Nina already laid out. And I'm really happy to be able to help in this way. Are there any questions about anything? Yes, I see a hand.
Deb.
Hi, Deb.
At the pantry, also. I just wanted to point out that when it says toilet paper, they get, what is it, one roll? So if you're getting, this is a family usually, a lot of them are a family with, 4, 5, 6 people in them. You need one roll of toilet paper, so people that think they're, getting stuff for free. If you want to stand in line and get your one roll of toilet paper for the week, I think you deserve all that you can get.
Indeed. I suppose, you're grateful for what you receive. And I do know, one thing I forgot to say was that, you mean I don't project? No. Anyway, the people who come are so grateful for the help. I don't mean in a kind of a sickening way, but, they're us. We could be standing in that line and, life can play some funny tricks on you, and before you know it, you're down and out. And so I just think it's really a wonderful opportunity to help.
I think Anita had a question.
I wonder how the volunteer arrangement is organized. So does each church volunteer for?
Yeah, I kind of skipped over that, but yeah, we have 8 churches now that are manning the pantry every month. And so when we have our first Thursday, we actually have 4 churches. We have our church, St. John's United Church of Christ, we have First Congregational, and we have Divine Wings, which is a spiritualist group. The second Thursday is Brookside. The third is Westminster Presbyterian. The fourth is First United Methodist. And if there is a fifth, it's Arbor Grove Congregational. So one of the really good things for me is getting to know people from all these other churches. And I think that's really strengthened our ties in the city of Jackson, because we have a lot in common, actually, with those churches I just named. So does that answer it? One thing I want to say about the toilet paper, that's a big controversy on the board, is some of us, and I'm one of them, says give them more toilet paper, but the others are, no, we have this whole plan worked out the way it is, and it's going to stay that way. But in July, the second week in July, we will celebrate our 7th anniversary, and they get 2 rolls of toilet paper. Woo! Greg.
My question is, you said it's on every Thursday at, what are the times?
Oh.
Frames?
Yeah, 4:30, or 5 to 6:30 is for the clients. And for the volunteers, we get there at 4:30. So it's 5 to 6:30, and people go right to the front door of the First Baptist Church. And you'll see people waiting out there to come in. Yeah.
And then what are, if people want to make additional donations other than what we get here, there's like a website or that can channel you to those places to donate just for the personal care ministry, or?
Yeah, it's in our newsletter now, the July newsletter, and they actually got their own, it still goes through Westminster Presbyterian Church, but now instead of writing that in the line, we can write Jackson Personal Care Ministry. Yeah, we don't have to put it in the memo, and that'll all be in the our July newsletter. Yeah, oh yeah, you don't have to mail anything, me or Maggie. As you can see, I'm somewhat still involved.
It's Maggie or Nina. We're sort of pushing her out, you know? No,
She's kidding.
anyway, yes, please, I'm sorry, and I should have covered that, but,
Or I should have.
or you should have. Nina, why didn't you cover it?
Yes, that's been quite popular, and it's called the Bling Sale. And they do, so I can, or Maggie and I can take donations of jewelry or accessories, and it's always during the Santa Claus Parade downtown, which is like in November. That's been quite successful. So, yeah, that's happening.
So I heard you say that anybody can come the first time and they get the goods without having ID.
Without their Michigan or Jackson ID.
What happens if, I take it, undocumented people or truly homeless people?
They can come with a letter or some kind of mail. I know, it gets,
It's sort of a vicious circle, because I was, I'm sorry. I thought I was so loud, I didn't need this. Anyway, for instance, there was a client who we were telling him about the Love Inc. People would help him get identification. And then he said, I don't have an address. If you're sleeping out under the viaduct, you don't have an address, you don't have an ID, you cannot easily get hooked into the assistance there is. And in particular with the other types of food banks that require referrals and applications and whatever. I'm not saying it's horrible. I shouldn't make it sound like you can't get a referral and do those things. But I think when the need is there, our group is more easily accessible for people.
if you're at the interfaith shelter, you don't need it, supposedly.
They
But-
get it, is what we're told.
Yeah, they have it there. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Alyssa? Yeah. Yeah, we just kind of wanted to see what it's like. And, yeah, I mean, as with everything, it's not without controversy. There is controversy, and we don't like turning people away, at least people from our church. We don't like turning people away, and so it's an ongoing, as with everything, it's an ongoing process. And hopefully we help people get the most help we can give them. Okay, thank you, everybody, for being good listeners.